Hey guys, welcome to the video. I know that's a crazy title, right? But it's true. But before I get into that, we're sitting in front of one of our clients' amazing, beautiful coffee shops here in Clarksville, Tennessee. If you're ever in Clarksville, come by and see her at the Amsterdam. So let's get into it. Why did I pick coffee over church? I mean, I'm cringing even telling you that because it sounds so like heretical for me to even say this. So I'm smiling saying, why did I pick coffee over church? But I've got to tell you the story. It's a true story. When I was married for a year, we were called out to a church out in Portland, Oregon. I didn't know much about Portland, Oregon. I knew it was just out west. I knew Portland was in Oregon and it was on the West Coast. So on our year anniversary, my wife and I, my new bride, we go out, we start our trek across the United States in our little Honda, or a Honda Accord, and we set out to help this church kind of restart. And in the course of time, I think it was our first week there, we're doing work and the staff says, hey, would you like some coffee? And I'm like, oh, sure, let's get some coffee. So I head to the office and they're like, where are you going? And I said, well, isn't that where the coffee's at? It's in the office, right? And they're like, no, get your coat. I was like, get my coat. I didn't know what was going on. So I get my coat, they get in their car and I'm like, we're just getting coffee. So we head down. I get my coat on, we head down to this little coffee shop. This is the first time I've ever been into a coffee shop. I thought coffee came in a red can, that you brewed it either in a percolator or a drip like a Mr. Coffee. And this is the first time I've ever seen a coffee shop. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to order. And they're like, well, this is this. They said something about espresso. It was really espresso. And I was like, okay, I don't really understand. This barista was behind the espresso machine and she said, what would you like? And I was like, I have no idea. So I ended up, my first drink was a double, 2-shot, caramel, add the caramel, mocha with whipped cream. Now, that probably has about, I don't know, 100 million grams of sugar in it, and it's mostly sugar. But it started my journey into the coffee world. Now, I haven't answered the question why I chose coffee over the church, because I'm working at the church, right? Over the course of time in Portland, at the church, God did some amazing things. But the church and the church building had its limitations. When I talk about the church, I know it's the called out assembly. It's the bride of Messiah. I know what it is. But most church is within 4 walls. And I really don't think that's a biblical concept, actually. So when I saw this coffee house, my mind was just like, wow, this is really cool. It wasn't until we moved from Portland back to Nashville, Tennessee, that we said, what are we going to do with ourselves? Because over the last 3 years, I had been really disenchanted with the bureaucracy of the church, or the inner workings behind the scenes of the church. The thing that got me into ministry was the love of people and spreading the gospel and loving people in just a real organic way. But it seemed like being inside the church walls, I had to become something else. I had to be perfect, number one. I had to have all the answers. And there was not just a real authentic feel to it. And during that time, even my love for God and for the scriptures and everything became almost rote. It became almost like a job, because I was hired by the church. I was getting paid to do this job. And so when we moved back to closer to home, which I'm from Kentucky, Louisville, my wife's from Lexington. We moved back to Nashville. We had some friends in the music industry here. We said, what are we going to do with ourselves? And we thought, well, why don't we start a coffee house? But let's not start a coffee house just to start a coffee house, but is it possible that we start a coffee house that can actually love on people? And so we went down this journey, and I thought I really knew what I was doing. I had no clue in business. I had no clue in coffee. Just 3 years prior, I had my first, double caramel mocha. And so we started embarking on this journey of making a coffee house that would impact the community. And so when I say I choose coffee over the church, what I'm saying is I'm saying that there's some important work to be done, and that can happen in a coffee house. It can happen in a coffee house where all of the walls are torn down, all the expectations, all of the contrivedness, all of the superficial things are torn down, and where people can meet people and love on people and tell them the truth about who God is. I'm able to do that in a coffee house. You can do it in a church. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that a person comes into a coffee house and you give them a smile. You give them a really great cup of coffee, world-class cup of coffee. You care about them, and you do this day in and day out. You serve them day in and day out. You start to develop a relationship with them in which they will hear you and they trust you because you've built a relationship with them. And so when I say I choose coffee over church, what I'm really saying is I choose the coffee house as a mechanism to reach people where they are, a mechanism to reach people where they are, instead of inviting them to my home turf of a church where they have to come in and they have to kind of wade through all of the churchianity, all of the stuff that we place in their way to see who God really is. In the coffee house, I get to see them at their worst. They get to see me at my worst. There's no pretense there. There's no put-ons there. I'm just a person that's got a coffee house, that's serving them a cup of coffee. And so we can talk about real things, about life, and most importantly, about how amazing their Creator is, how amazing Messiah is. And it almost hits them like out of left field. They don't know what's happening because there's no expectation. There's no expectation that they have to conform to my world that I've created within four walls, but instead I come into their world. And so it's a pretty magical thing. And over the last, 24 years, I've seen the coffee house reach people in a way that I don't think those people, especially those people that we've reached, those people that God has allowed to come through our doors or come across in front of our espresso machine, those people, I don't think those people would have been reached any other way. And so the coffee house for them is a real thing, and it's a pretty cool thing. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to keep doing that, and I want others to do that also. So that's what we're about. That's why I choose the coffee house really over the church walls. And thanks for watching the video, and excuse my getting emotional. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.